2023 Ironman Tulsa Athlete Guide has just been posted, maybe in the last couple of days, so it's high time that we get a race preview for everyone that is racing that day. So, scrolling down, I'm going to run through the athlete guide here. I'm going to run through some quick info here. It's probably going to take a couple of minutes. If you already know this, feel free to fast forward to the course breakdown of the swim, bike, and run and how to attack it on race day. Page 4 of our athlete guide walks us through the event schedule that is on race week. Thursday, athlete check-in opens from those times, and the athlete briefings are at 1 and 3 p.m. If you are able to get there earlier, highly suggest you do one of these athlete briefings. It's easy. It's way out in the distance of race day, and it will create a lot of stress-free environments after that. So next day, Friday, athlete check-in. There is no check-in Saturday, so this is our last day to check in. This is not our drop-off for anything. This is just when we check into the race. Got to do that. Get your athlete wristband to get ready to rock and roll over the course of the weekend. Again, there are athlete briefings 2 and 6 p.m. I personally always like doing the Thursday one if possible. If not, make sure you head over there. Specifically for anything that just changes on race day. Maybe it's a course update, maybe something is different, maybe they're switching the buoys, or maybe they're changing the swim course, something like that. And they will usually be pretty good about letting everybody know, even outside of those athlete briefing times. Okay, there was also a welcoming ceremony on that Friday at 6 p.m. Locations are all off to the right over here, and you can visit them yourself. On Saturday, we again, no athlete check-in here, but we do have mandatory athlete bike and gear check-in. I'm going to dive into that later with the complimentary valet service, which is listed down below here. And then after that, we have the mandatory run and gear bag check-in as well. Excuse me. And again, we have one last athlete briefing located at noon on the day before the race. Make sure you keep in mind these times for the bike and gear, your bike and bike bag and run bag check-in, 10 to 4 p.m. And then race day, that's Sunday, transition 1 opens at 4 a.m. as is customary, and it closes at 6:30 a.m. Transition 2 shouldn't be going in the transition 2 pretty much at all on race morning unless you really need something. But again, if you've planned ahead of time, everything should be pretty easy on that day. Now, there are shuttles that pick up athletes, and again, mandatory spectator shuttles start at, this one says 5. I don't know if that's correct. It might be a little bit later. But if you are attempting to go on the shuttles before that time, you, as a spectator, will not be allowed to go on the shuttle because they're going to prioritize athletes to the race venue first on that transition 1 location. Also, another update, I'm going to probably mention it later on, but shuttles are required to go from transition 2 to transition 1. There is no parking located at the transition 1, so they even list and say use the shuttles to go to transition 1. Do not drive there, just to keep the traffic down in the area. Monday, day after Celebration Day, we have a list of events here. Make sure you get over to the Ironman store early at 7 a.m. to pick up your race stuff, purchase your finisher things if you choose to do so. It's also a Celebration Day breakfast at 9 a.m. if you are sticking around on that Monday. Also, if you are a qualifier, 9:30 a.m. awards ceremony is on that Monday. So let's scroll down here, page 7, athlete check-in. This page talks about where, when, what to bring. You're going to bring your ID, your password, active.com, registration, QR code with you. Because when you check in, you're going to use that QR code to check it in. You're going to show your ID, sign the waivers, pick up your packet, and get your race swag. It lists everything that the packet will include: race bib, stickers, swim cap, bike checkout ticket, wristband, which you must put on before you leave, and the 5 gear bags. You will not pick up your timing chip at athlete check-in. You will pick that up when you drop off your run gear on Saturday here. Again, this talks about where to place your bike stickers, bike frame, helmet, bike stem, and then your 5 extra gear bag stickers. They also say make sure you write on the gear bag your numbers so it is for certain in case the sticker does go off. So that would be something additional to bring with you to your race weekend, a permanent marker when you are laying all of your bags out and putting all your stuff in it before your race day. Pre-race info, page 9. Physical addresses are located here. The village, mandatory athlete briefings, personal safety, they have said that you are allowed to swim, but they've also said that there are no lifeguards on staff and that it's kind of swim at your own risks. If you are biking or choosing to bike at the race venue, make sure you are abiding by the traffic laws. Usually they will have a couple of police officers giving out tickets before the race because there's a ton more people in the town than usual. So if you do break the law, expect to get a ticket or even a disqualification if it is very egregious. So be careful out there. Here we go. Mandatory bike and gear check-in. This is the day before the race, 10 to 4 p.m. Okay, they are giving you a complimentary bike valet, and you can choose to drop off your bike at Transition 2, right, to the Ironman location there. Don't just go there and drop it off in a random spot. Make sure you go to the specific valet service and give it to them if you are choosing this option, which I am not a huge fan of. In this option, they will put your bike probably in the back of a truck or a car, probably a big van, along with a bunch of other athletes, and they will drive it up there, and you will not have access to it. It will be next to someone else's bike in a moving vehicle, so you know it's going to slide around at least a little bit, or shuffle, or anything. Gears are going to get banged up. Something's going to happen to your bike probably, and I'm just a bigger fan of getting up there to Transition 1 and dropping off all of your stuff, so that way you have less things to worry about on race morning. This kind of sounds great, but in my head creates a little more troubles on race morning. If you choose the valet service, you are bringing your bike and run bags with you on race morning up to Transition 1 on the shuttle with everything else. And again, in my mind, that's a little too much stuff for me. So if it was me racing, I would choose to get up to Transition 1 somehow, figure it out, get a bus, get whatever, right? Rent a car, do anything to get all my stuff up there, and that way I can drop it off. And I know that no one's going to throw it around or accidentally drop it or anything, You trained a whole year for this race, you might as well just go the extra hour and just get it done, right? You can also drop off your bike and run bags at the transition there when you are dropping off your bike. And again, it does create a lot less stress. Gear bags are located on page 10. The white one is our morning clothes bag. That's what you're going to use at the race start, okay? When you are getting out of Transition 1, you will have the capability to wear like a sweatshirt or anything to keep you warm, things like that. Before your race starts, you will put your morning clothes into the morning clothes bag and anything else you think you'll need at the race finish. So if you want to get a different pair of clothes or anything else, you'll put that in the morning clothes bag, and that way when you finish, you will have it you'll have access to it right away at the finish line. Blue bag, bike gear bag. You're going to put everything in here that you need to ride your bike, nutrition-wise, gear-wise, bike shoes, helmet, that kind of stuff, along with any goos, gels, anything else that you think you will need with you on the bike. Okay. Run gear bag, same thing. It's just in red. You're going to do everything you think you'll need for the run in there. Running shoes, definitely you need to put them in there. Next two are a little bit personal. They are the personal bike needs, and that is the orange bag. You're going to drop this off on the 3rd in Cincinnati near the shuttle pickup area on race morning. It's not too far out of the way. Yes, it is a little out of the way, but if you do need it on the bike, you will have to utilize this. So if say you are utilizing five water bottles of food on race day, right? You're going to put 2 or 3 water bottles in here with the food on race morning, and then when you get to this point in the course, you will stop and you will pick up your bag, get rid of your empty bottles, and it's easy peasy. If you just want something like a pick-me-up or a Red Bull or something, chug it down really fast, you can also do that. Again, this is highly personal to you, your race fueling strategy, and overall race day success according to you as an individual. The run personal needs, again, you're going to drop it off at the same area, 3rd in Cincinnati, near the shuttle pickup area on race morning before you go up there to Transition 1 on race morning. And you're going to put everything in here that you think you will need on the run, additionally, that you can't fit into your red bag and have access to immediately. So you will have access to this, think about halfway through your run. And again, you can put here, if you have a handheld bottle with food, you can put an additional handheld bottle with food in there in this run personal needs area. And on race day, you go there to the personal needs area, you pick it up halfway through. The volunteers are great, and you get through it and you repeat. So again, highly individual to your nutritional or pacing strategy as an athlete. Race day info on page 11, the race morning procedure. The shuttles are going to start at 4 a.m. at transition 2, which is again 3rd and Cincinnati. Okay, when you're there, if you have used the valet service, you're going to need to bring those bike and run bags that we talked about earlier. As we talked about earlier, there's athletes only from 4 to 5:45 a.m. Spectators are permitted starting at 5 a.m. here. Listed right down here. Then again, all athletes and spectators must take the shuttle to T1. There is no parking or athlete drop-off at Keystone State Park. So again, I'm sure people will be dropping off up there, but if you have any option to avoid that, avoid it. Shuttles are not that bad at these events. They've gotten pretty good at it. Body marking, there is no need to body mark this year, which is great. Timing chip, your timing chip will not be in your packet. You must stop at the timing table as you exit the run gear bag check-in area to pick up your timing chip. So this is something that's going to happen the day before. So make sure you do not finish your to-dos on Saturday without knowing you have your timing chip. If you do not have a timing chip and you show up on race morning, there's no way for anyone to know what splits you have or if you've even completed the race. You have to have a timing chip. It's got to be on your left ankle. It's just got to be a thing, okay? Aid stations before we rock and roll here. Aid stations on the bike are approximately every 15, and on the run, they're about every mile apart. Bike, you're going to have water, Gatorade, Endurance, Red Bull, Morton gels, and caffeinated bars and fruit in the form of bananas. On the run, a little more options here. You're still going to have those Morton gels, cola, Red Bull, Gatorade in a different formula, and water, or different flavor, I should say, for the Gatorade. But in addition, you're also going to have things like chips, pretzels, different fruit. You're going to have broth if it gets later. Active ice is available at that first aid station only. So if it is a hotter day, make sure that you do stop at the first aid station to get some active ice covered over you and allow you to cool down a little bit. If you are planning to be out there for an extended period of time, you might not want to hit that ice station if it is in the 50s or 60s as it's forecasted right now. Race day cutoffs are on page 13. Wetsuit option. I always like to read this one out so everyone knows. If the water temperature on race morning measures above 76.1, but less than 83.8, the race is wetsuit optional. Okay. Race start and finish times, it lists it right over there along with the cutoffs and the important ones. There are additional intermediate cutoffs at mile 25.3, 50.9, and 95.7, and you have to be back here at all of those times or earlier. Post-race info, page 15, you can check that out. Qualifying is page 17, and on page 18 we have our first dive into our swim course. Okay, this is a 2-loop swim course and it's a little funky, yes. So our swim start is down, located, here, let's get our tracker going, located right over here. At that point, you will swim out over here, boom, and you will notice that there is a buoy over here. I do not know if you are going to have to swim around the buoy and then back online or not, or if you're just able to swim right out here. Okay, so this is going to be the first major question you're going to ask when you do go into your athlete check-in or the race briefings, okay? These are the major questions out on course. Again, I don't know if the first or the second red buoy is on the wrong side of the course, but in my mind, it's probably going to be located over here, and you will have to swim around it and back up that way, okay? Probably going to have to stay on the left side of that red buoy. Again, there is another question that I do have is this area, is that going to have a red buoy that you have to physically go around? If not, can you just do something like this? You know, which I'm sure it's going to be on everybody's mind. And if these are purely sighting buoys, expect a lot of people to do things like that. So in my mind, I would definitely expect there to be a passing buoy that you have to go on the left-hand side right in there to keep everyone's safety and to get the appropriate course distance out here. Now, in the first little section, sorry, my screen is jumping all over the place here, but in the first little section right through here, this area is going to be very, very high paced, and that's probably going to last, honestly, until you're up into this area right through here. Okay, and that's okay if you are going a little bit faster than what you normally do in training. as long as you are with a group of people and they are pulling you along. If you are swimming and leading the pack of a group of 6, 7, 8 people, there is no reason for you to be doing this, especially if it's faster than your simulated conditions in your race efforts, okay? So big ego check comes, first one comes right here when everything starts to settle in. Holy crap, you are doing this thing. Second reality check comes in right here. If you blow past these two reality checks, chances are you're going to get, well, when you come back to this area on the second lap, it's going to be very, very tough for you on this swim and for the first little while on the bike. Okay, so read yourself as an individual and read yourself in the situation. If there's a group of people around you and they are swimming the same speed as you, let them lead. They will gladly do so most of the time. Okay, podium chasers, you're probably not going to have that same luxury as another athlete. Podium chasers, this whole first group right here, you have to go fast. You have to establish yourself and set yourself up into the breaks that you want to, which will probably likely start to happen right through here, big time, right past that second reality check that we talked about earlier. Now, going back to everybody else, right? This area right through here is going to be tough, right? It's going to be the first real section that you do have the ability to just get away from people. You're going to have a little more open space, and you are going to be breathing. If you are breathing to the right over here, you are going to have something called the sun blowing right in your face. Perfect, okay? It is, this whole right side is going to be pretty tough on race day just from a sighting standpoint, okay? You're going to be hopped up on adrenaline and nerves, and it's going to be a fun time right through here, but if you do have too much fun, it is going to hurt big time. So when some of these stimulating factors go away on this section right up through here, this top section of our course, this is going to be the first time where you do get a big reality check to yourself and say, okay, can I hold this pace or not? What's going on with people around me? What is happening here on race day? And this is where some of the games are going to start on race day, and I highly encourage you not to play them, okay? Highly encourage you not to do so. This whole section right through here is going to be a little bit faster, believe it or not, than on the way out, and that has to do with a number of things. If you are a right-handed breather, you're not going to be fighting the sun. This area right through here, you are going to be have some sun with you because you are going to have to sight, and it's going to hit you a little bit when you do sight from time to time. But this whole right side of our course for this first loop, you're going to be battling people, you're going to be battling the sun if it's there, and you're going to be battling kind of yourself with all those that adrenaline that you have mixed up in it. Okay, in my mind, the first real time that you get to swim according to you without any other extra pressure is going to be this bottom section right through here. Okay. And again, if it's going to be easy to ignore, but figure out your pace, figure out your effort levels, and if you are swimming in a wetsuit and you think, well, I'm not going super hard, I think I'm going my normal speed, you might be going a little bit harder, okay? If you are going your speed, it shouldn't be overly hard, right? You shouldn't be overly taxing yourself. And if you are swimming in that wetsuit, it should be a little bit easier for you, even so, okay? Bottom section right through here, that nerve and adrenaline is going to start to pick up. You're going to start to see the finish markers, the finish banner, your transition area. You're going to start to see that, and it's going to be obvious. Again, we do have a 2-loop course here, but, we have another loop here to go. Okay, this section right here, it's very common for, and even on this bottom one, before I eat my words here, these two sections right here are very common for athletes to sight a lot, an obnoxious amount of time. Don't be that person, okay? Stick to your sighting patterns. My sighting pattern for me, I always did a sight and then 3 strokes breathe to the right, 3 or 5 strokes breathe to the left. And if I was feeling really good, I would repeat that again before I would ever sight again. Right? If you are not as confident in your swimming ability, you might want to think about doing 2 or 3 cycles and then sight. Okay? If you're breathing every stroke or every other stroke on that one side, you might want to think about doing it 3 or 4 times before sighting again. And if you are unable to swim straight, actively fixing that in the moment, which is going to be another thing to think about. So don't increase your sight patterns as you get closer to this finish line. Now, loop number 2 changes a couple of things. On this first little stretch that we have, right, A lot of the chaos is not going to be there. If you are a front of the pack swimmer, you might start to run into people along this stretch right through here of our slower swimmers who are just trying to make the cut. And if you are a kind of a mid-pack swimmer, you might just be consistently, it just might be consistent what you've had up until that point right through there. So it might be thinning out a little bit. You're going to be sticking with a couple of people here and there, and that's going to be the same right through there. If you start this second lap, do not start it in a bad headspace, okay? Do not start the second lap with, oh, I have another lap to go. Gosh. Think of it as I only have one more lap to go and then I'm out of the swim, okay? That positive mental attitude is going to carry you very far on race day if you utilize it well. Next up, right-hand turn right through here. Again, this is our problem spot when we talk about from an element perspective with the sun coming from that right-hand side, okay? This is going to be a little bit troubling from the sun perspective, but if you can get over that, and if you are breathing on the left side, it's not a huge deal here. All right, follow the feet in front of you. If someone's leading you the way, do it. If they're swimming just slightly faster than you, that's perfect scenario, which almost never happens on race day. But in a perfect scenario, yeah, do it. Follow them. That's great. Okay. Now, if you are in a big pack and you do want to break away and all of that, this area right through here is prime time for this, and even this long section right through here, right? And again, if you are, and if your goal is not to get on the top of that podium and you are in a good little pack there, avoid that. If your job is to go there and try to get a podium, these three sections on the second loop, 1, 2, and 3, and even 4, but not really. That's going to be the place where you can kind of make some of these moves and establish a different group. But remember all that extra effort that you're spending to get, let's call it 30 seconds ahead of someone else, maybe a minute. In the grand scheme of things, is that worth it? So risk versus reward out on race day, and that's what a lot of people really forget with the swim. Swim your pace, and you have to really weigh the pros and the cons of is it even worth me pushing my limits to try and achieve, let's say, a minute faster swim if it's going to totally crush me? And the answer is almost always no. By the time you get to this little section right through here, the last real long section out on the swim, this is going to be the point in time where you need to start thinking about what's going on with not your swim, but your bike. How are you going to get out of the water to transition? You should have already done that in your walkthroughs leading up to the race. After that, go through it in your head 2 or 3 times. I'm going to get out of the water, take my wetsuit off, go to the transition area, go to my bike bag, go to my bike, blah, 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 blah. And so by the time you get to this little area right through here, this is going to be the point in time where you have everything nailed and locked down in your head. You know exactly what you're going to do when you get out of the water to the point where you get on the bike, okay? Last little bit of section right through here. Keep in mind that you do not have to go back to this other turn buoy over here. Instead, what you get to do after the second loop is boom, straight into that transition area. I would watch out for the entry-exit points on race day. There's probably going to be some banners, things like that. There's going to be things to help you out, to help you get out of the water easier. And that is the swim course in a nutshell. It's not super technical. The biggest, remember, the biggest things that I have in my mind are what do you have to do for this first buoy, second buoy, third buoy right through here. Ask those questions on race day, and especially this one up here. If there's no buoy right there that you have to worry about, then shoot the gap. Go for it. Page 20 talks about the swim course rules, and then page 23, we have our bike course. And you can see here, I'm going to actually zoom out so we can see the bike course in its entirety on page 23 here. And again, if you look up before I scroll down, it says 2 loops. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video right here. So this is right here. This is our Ironman bike course that we have right here, about 5,500 feet of elevation over the course of this 112-ish miles. I think it's a little bit shorter, but it is what it is. Okay, biggest things to note that on the first and second lap, the first lap when you get up through here, you're going to go, boom, take a right. The second time you get up to this point, you are taking a right. So that first lap, you're taking a left and right. That second lap, you are taking a right at this point. So the top portion of this bike right through here, you're only going to ride once, okay? And that's good because it has a lot of different things that we're going to kind of dish about here in a second. Now, going over to one of my favorite websites is this Best Bike Split app, and you can see here that this course is littered with power, just ups and down. You're up, you're down pretty much the whole time, and for good reason too, because this course is going to be challenging. The weather out on course, you can see it's going at a northeastern-ish point, so it's blowing from that point to that southwest location, which means that on the way back into town, it's going to be party time. At least predicted. Wind speed's going to be predicted about 15 miles an hour, 16 miles an hour coming back in. The first time you're coming in, it's going to be about 13, 14 miles an hour coming back in. So it should be happier days going back in. Now, when we go back out, we are going, and I'll zoom in here for us. We're coming out of the park, which is going to be a little bit hairy. I'm not going to lie to you. Speeds are probably going to be moderated through this point in time, and if they are not, keep an eye out for other individuals in here big time. It's going to be very problematic to start the race this way if you do leave in a bunch. So just have your head on the swivel. One of the worst things that could happen is for you to crash into someone going out of the state park. Should be okay. It's going to be great to start, and then the spectators are just going to drop off. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be a bunch of people and then no people. Then you're going to cross a bridge, hang a right, and then you are on the main drag of the race course. So again, remember when we talked about that wind? It is coming, and I'll just continuously do this as we talk about it. So it is going to be coming in this fashion right through here. So this whole point, you're going to have a crosswind out on this section, and it is going to be coming from the dirty side of the bike, which means it's going to be affecting you a little bit more than you want it to. Coped with the fact that you just finished the swim and you are ready to rock and roll on race morning. Adrenaline is flowing still. You're really pumped up still. And during this section, you are probably going to overbike this. It's going to be very hard not to. Keep an eye on the watts. Keep an eye out on your effort, heart rate. If you are one of those swimmers that gets out of the water, your heart rate is jacked. You're going to need to take the next couple of miles to just allow it to come down a little bit. And so now, when we exit that section of course, right, when we are going to head up, and I'll zoom out so you can see kind of a little bit better. We're going to head up towards that north, and again, this whole section is going to be into a headwind, so it is going to be not only the fact that we do have a couple of hills mixed in here, right? It's going to be mixed in with a headwind, so you are going to be going downhill, but again, remember, you have that headwind, so it's not going to feel like a real downwind in most situations. It's going to feel like you're working a little bit more than you want to. And if you really flew those first 10 miles when you made that left-hand turn, boom, up you went up a pretty big hill, okay? And if you really crushed these first 10 miles and you ignored everything and everybody around you, then you're going to pay for it later on, especially when we talk about getting a mile 20 over here, which this is going to be where you can kind of get some separation on people in this next couple of miles. Because again, we have a crosswind coming up right through here. It's pretty chunky territory right in here. And the big keys on this course, you're going to be driving those downhills as best you can to get yourself up the uphills as they come ahead of you. All right. If you do start a hill going 5 miles an hour, it's going to be way different than starting a hill at 20, 25 miles an hour, okay? And this section right through here, again, it's a crosswind again, so you're going to be battling here. So you can see that the first, let's call it the first, 25 miles out on this course are all really into the wind or not with the wind here. And that's going to make things very, very tough mentally on race day. Your speed might not be where you want it to be. Going over to the best bike split here, we go to our power plan. We're going to only look at speed, and you can see the first 20 miles here are some of the slowest times on the day. And that's no coincidence. So going back to our course here, we're talking about this next section, which is right up here when we go to the park. We're going to hang a left-hand turn because it's the first loop, and we are climbing up. We are climbing, and then I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I'm not sure how this whole little section is going to work back through here. If I am correct, this is going to be one of the more dangerous parts out on course right through here. We do have a hill to kind of go up and come down, and then when we are going a little bit faster, we do have a loop-de-loop to go around and then back up out onto the top part. So just watch out for other people during this section of the course, okay? Uh, People are still going to be going crazy. Chances are you're going to be involved with your pack still at this point. And so people are going to be just trying to break away. And if they choose to do that there, that's probably not the best spot to do that. Now, when we're at the top over here, again, we are still battling some of these crosswinds before, right at mile 36, 37, the real fun begins. So right at 36, 37, switching back over to my best bike split, you can see here the speed. If we just look at speed and power, the speed through here instantly jumps. Okay, instantly, and that's no coincidence, all down to the wind. So again, make sure you are ready for this. This is very akin to something like Ironman Florida. These downwind sections, very, very easy to overbike. Make sure you're looking at your speed in conjunction with your power out here. If you're going 25 miles an hour and you are barely touching the pedals, you got to ask yourself, how much more is worth it? You know, if you have to put out an additional 50, 60, 80, 100 more watts to go a mile or two an hour faster, is that worth it in the grand scheme of things? Probably not over the course of this race, because as you zigzag down here, this little section right through here is going to be tough, especially this right-hand bend right through here, where we have choppy terrain, and you still will get some of a tailwind, but you're still going to be in tailwind mode. Okay, so don't get really discouraged down here. Your speed is going to naturally drop. Remember, we talked about ride those downhills to go up the uphills. And then when we make a left-hand turn, it's going to get fast. It's going to get great again. We're going to go down here for a little out and back over the course of this little highway right here. We're going down and back, and then we're going to peel back off over to I believe that's River Road down there, where we are going to have, I would say this is going to be a little bit faster than you would expect it through this section right here. Again, crosswind is going to be coming from our right-hand side at this point. So it's going to be a little bit cleaner on the bike. You're going to have a couple of chances where you are going to have that tailwind assist, at least a little bit right through here. This section right through here is going to be a dead tailwind. Make sure you are fueling with the offhand so you can stabilize, right? So you have that if it's coming from the right-hand side, you are stabilizing with your left hand. Right hand is drinking that water in the course of that arrow position and those crosswinds. After we get to the bottom over here, back to the state park, we are going to be turning, and you are going to be repeating essentially the same thing-ish. Okay, remember, these first 10 miles of the loop are going to be very, very, they're not going to be super hilly, but they are going to be tough if the winds do pick up, making that left-hand turn up the big hill. Again, you can go up this as hard as you want to. Again, think back to our swim comment, all right? Is it going to be worth it if you put out, say, one more minute of space in between you and someone else at mile 80, let's call it 83? Probably not, right? If you're going really well with a couple other people and you're there, then I would just stay with them. There's no real point in really, really putting the hammer down with them, especially at this point of the race, because you know that you are going to be battling those winds coming up this whole point right through here. After you do make this right-hand turn, remember, we don't do that top half section of the course on the second loop. We are going down here, and the wind is going to help you out again. When we do this little curve right through here, this curve it's going to be tough because you are going to be curling effectively into a crosswind here. And again, it's going to slow your speed down naturally. Don't beat yourself up. And when you make this little section right here, instead of turning right, you're going to turn left because it's happy days for you. You are about to finish the Ironman Tulsa race course, okay? And that is going to happen right at about mile, let's call it 100-ish, 108. Let's call it 108 right there. So you do have a fair bit of time to ride back into town. It's going to be very, very cool doing that. You're going to have a fair bit of time to ride into town. So again, don't overly do it here, and think back to our Watt comment on the first loop. Is it going to be worth it? And again, Even though you're coming down here, you are still going to have some hills to climb. It's not going to be totally happy days, but when you do have the opportunity to go down a hill or hit some of these flatter-ish roads, right, you are going to have a tailwind. So you're still going to be working, don't get me wrong, during this whole tailwind section, but it's going to feel a little bit easier working than a total headwind, which you have experienced. Best bike split numbers right up here. Elevation's gone. This is speed. I'm going to take that away for a little bit. And again, it is very, very chunky out there. Very few sections do you have where you are holding this time or holding this power over the course of miles and miles and miles, okay? But when you do bring speed back, all those little areas that we talked about before, speed is up. You're still going to be working, right? But it's still going to be tough, okay? Elevation, we're going to bring that back just so you can see right through there. And it's no mystery why this course is going to be very, very tough in my mind. Time analysis, one of my favorite things. We're going to increase the power by 1 watt so you can see the point at which you can get the most bang for your buck. And right over here, think about it. You increase 1 percentage point for your bike, and you are going to increase 4 whopping seconds right through here at mile, let's call it 76. Now, if you do, let's go up to 5 so you can see some of these real effects right through here. And again, if you were going 5% faster here, that 4 seconds turns into 17 seconds. Again, these seconds add up over time, and you will save 11 minutes if you do 5% faster. Let's call it 12 minutes, okay? All right. And so that is our bike course in a nutshell, okay? Now, let's head over to our run course after we scroll down through here on page 24 of our athlete guide. You can see the athlete, or not the athlete, the course profile for the bike right through there. Bike course rules. Highly, highly encourage you to visit page 26 of the athlete guide. It will tell you all about the the bike course rules. Big one, bike course draft zone is 12 meters long. That is 6 bike lengths, clear space between you and the next person. All right, you also have 25 seconds to pass a person. If you enter that draft zone, you have 25 seconds to pass. Okay, failure to do so will result in a penalty if you are seen by a course marshal. So make sure you have identified a specific spot that you know you can pass someone. It is something to pass someone. If you just pass them and sit in front of their front wheel, that is a blocking penalty. You have to pass and establish the draft zone yourself. All right. Page 27 also has the additional set of rules. Those are just the biggest ones. Make sure you don't litter out there on the race course on the race day. And on page 33, here we go. We have our run course, which is 2 loops. I've done the liberty of finding a run course that is similar to what we will be running here, and let's make it look better than what it is. Here we go. So now you can see here we have about 540 feet of elevation gain over the course of this run. All right, and it's very, very important these first 3 miles that you heed my words of advice. Do not go hard. Do not go hard. Typically, I like the 3-mile rule when starting an Ironman anyways, and this is just an easy excuse for you to stop going super hard those first couple of miles. Do not do it. Okay? Very easy for athletes to totally explode these first 3 miles, totally crush them. All right, and it's natural. Again, you finished the first 2. You only got 1 left. Let's get this thing done. Heck yeah, I'm ready. Right? No. Get out there, walk, run, get your system ready to run again, evaluate your nutrition plan, what has gone on over the course of the bike, and really, really, truly make a decision on where you need to be and where you need to go in terms of pacing and nutrition. If you know I'm not going to be able to hit that pace target that we've talked about beforehand, there's no point in you trying to do it, right? Figure out your nutrition and then go from there. What has happened on the bike? What have you not done? What have you done too much of? Blah, 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 right? Go down your checklists and actively figure it out. Okay? At mile 3, that's the point at which you can start running your race pace. And if you are a podium chaser, probably mile 2. Okay? Mile 2, mile 3, that's where you need to start figuring out your race plan. Okay? So after that point that you have established everything, then it's pretty much happy days from a elevation standpoint. I'm not going to lie to you guys, okay? Take what you have done, take your pacing, your planning, and execute it here. Watch your nutrition, watch your pacing. If you have power, watch your power, heart rate, cadence, all of that, right? It all is a huge piece of the puzzle. Identify weak spots very, very quickly and often, okay? You should constantly be going down these checklists in your mind. How much water have I had? How's my nutrition? How many calories have I had? When's the next water stop? Am I overheating? And actively go through this. If something's going on and the alarm bells haven't quite gone off yet, you are going to be able to fix it faster than you would have, right? Obviously. It is going to take time. You will be able to come back from that. But the biggest things you're going to be battling on this race course are your previous efforts in the elements. That's it. That is it. Okay. So this run course, opens you up to the possibility of having a lot of success or not. Because it's so flat, you can get suckered into going a little harder than you think you should be going. And you can kind of trick your mind on race day. So again, think back to those training efforts that we have done before this. Okay. Go down your list, evaluate your effort, and monitor yourself on race day. Not a whole lot to write home about in here, so make sure you are ready and prepared to be out here. Okay? Prepare yourself. There's two loops, and then two loops. There's two loops out here, and then you're done. When you get to the end of that first loop, do not think, I can't believe I have another second loop to do. I can't believe I have a second loop. Instead, think, I cannot wait to do this second loop. I'm going to soak up everything on my way to my Ironman Tulsa race course finish out here on race day. Okay, watch the temperatures, watch the wind, see what's going on. If you are a later finisher, you might want to keep the winds in mind, because if it is low 50s, mid 50s, then you are going to open yourself up to some thermo regulation issues or things later on in your race. So again, watch that, monitor it. Might be something you want to put in your special needs bag on race day. Good luck to everybody out there.